Yes. Are we going live now?
Yes, ma'am. We are live now.
Good evening to one and all present here. I, President Divya Gurnani, on behalf of HR Speaks, HR College, and the HSNC Board, would like to extend a warm welcome to our Principal in Charge, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, our Vice Principal, Dr. Naveen Punjabi, our guest for today, Miss Smita Thool, respected teachers, and my fellow students. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to a very special HR Speaks session on women and law as a part of our Women's Week initiative. Now, I would like our hosts for today, Akshita and Prem, to take it forward.
Hello everyone, I am Akshita Gupta, your co-host for today. And I would like to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about our club. HR Speaks is HR's college official monthly magazine issued on the first of every month. The magazine covers a variety of topics throughout the year. From growing up to growing within, from mental health to balancing work and life, sourcing articles from alumni, established professionals, teachers, and of course, from all the HR college students. We also organize events like Picto Tales, campaigns like Let's Talk, and our very own intercollegiate literary arts festival, the HR Lit Fest. Now, I would request our professor in charge, Ms. Shweta Singh, to address a welcome note to the principal.
Thank you, Akshita. On behalf of HR College, HR Speaks, HSNC University, I, Professor Shweta Singh, would like to welcome our principal for the session. I would also like to welcome our speaker, Miss Smita, dear faculties and dear students. I take this opportunity to introduce our principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani. She has been associated with the college as a faculty in the Department of Commerce and have actively worked towards the growth and development of the college by working in more than 20 years now. She is the head of Department of Commerce and is also the member of Board of Studies in Business Management. She has taught varied subjects such as marketing, human resource management, principles of management, marketing research, organizational behavior, and many other businesses paper. She is a recognized guide for Doctor in Philosophy in the subject of commerce from the University of Mumbai. Her motto in life is to create responsible student leaders who bring positive change in the society. Dr. Ramchandani is a firm believer that there is no alternate to hard work for achieving success and excellence. She is also the Dean of Commerce and Management in the HSNC University. Now, I would request all of us to join us on a board and we show a short video capturing the glimpse of HR Speaks throughout the year. Correct. Ma'am, hello? Hello?
Yes, dear.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like to speak something and address the students?
I think they're playing the video.
Yes, ma'am, but after, before you address and then later. Yeah.
Thank you, dear Shweta. I think a small person like me with you adding so many achievements of mine, I think I feel small, especially when I speak in front of my brand ambassadors who are my students and always have a smiling face. As Shweta said, on behalf of HR College, HSNC Board and HSNC University, we welcome you today on a very, very important topic. First of all, a very, very happy International Women's Day. I pray that let all women in the world, in our college, be treated not above, not below, but equal to men in the society. This is what HR believes in. And I can see today out of more than 100 participants, 80% are girls. So we have already won our battle where we say the empowerment that we give to women in HR college, the empowerment that we give to women in HR college is something that we are really proud of. 90% of our staff, I should say 95% of our staff is women. Poor men are in minority, so we ensure that they get their rights and they're taken care of. And similarly, when we look at our enrollments in education in our colleges, the girls always take the highest seats. And it is good and very, very happy to know that girls today are realizing that education is important. And today you have invited Miss Smita to talk about law and women. How much, I believe me, of my past experiences, women tend to ignore that law has been made for them. So many rights and responsibilities or perquisites are being given to women, which they are ignorant about. And I think HR College, HR Speaks as a body is taking responsibility to let these as women know what rights and what things are being given to them in law, and how much important it is necessary to know what law is in for them. Do not suppress your voice. Do not suffer anybody, but know your rights, know your law, and fight back. I congratulate HR Speaks, Professor Shweta, and all my brand ambassadors of HR Speaks for holding this session after International Women's Day. I also welcome Miss Smita on this session to HR College virtually. I know virtually, but promise you when the college reopens, you come back to HR offline and meet us, and we share a good bond and always make you a part of HR family. So over to you, Shweta, once again. Thank you for inviting me, and also a big thank you to HR Speaks for organizing such an important topic for girls in HR is women and law. So all the best, and over to you, dear.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks for addressing the audience, encouraging them so much, and telling them this topic is so important for them to understand. Now, I would like the video to be played for HR Speaks. Please go ahead.
Hello, I'm Prem, your co-host for today. The International Women's Day falls on March 8 every year. This day is celebrated to acknowledge the economic, political, social, and cultural achievements of women from all walks of life. HR Speaks commemorates the essence of womanhood from 8 March to 14 March 2021, where you will get a chance to hear inspiring life lessons from women who dared not only to dream big, but also to challenge the stigma affecting women in all walks of life for the greater good of every woman's future.
There have been countless mentions of women and their rights in various books, journals, and media of our country. Yet, very few of us actually know about the legalities behind them. Arming themselves with knowledge is the best defense a woman can have. And for the very same reason, we have brought to you this webinar on women in law by our esteemed speaker, Miss Smita Thool, who will be enlightening us about what the Indian Constitution holds for our women through the course of this session.
If you ever wondered, are there any special laws protecting women's interests? What all do they entail? How can a woman protect herself using them? Then this webinar is for you, and you should definitely find yourself a comfortable seat for an hour. I would now like to take this opportunity to introduce our speaker. Miss Smita is a human resources professional holding a Master's of Law LLM focused in criminology from University of Mumbai. She is also a certified pause trainer and has more than 15 years of rich background in corporate HR and administration at Reliance Group. It was her passion in law and the need to make the legal provisions available to every person that convinced her to study law herself and create legal training modules, which enabled her to realize that a keen interest lies in making law an easily understood entity. We are glad to have you on board, ma'am. You can post your questions in the chat box and they will be answered by Miss Smita. Without further ado, we now hand it over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Prem. Thank you so much for the team of HR Speaks for actually inviting me here and helping me to share. I mean, actually inviting me here to help me share my knowledge of law with you guys. So when we're speaking, I'll directly go to my topic, which is like women and law. So when we speak about women and law, we are here what we are speaking about is like first. So when we speak about women and law, what we are talking about here is law which is specifically designed, or like the safeguards which are specifically for women. So when we speak that it's a law which is designed for women, there is always a question as to why do women need this law? Why is the need for women to have special laws for themselves? And if I can so answer that question, I'll say that the role that women play in the society is changing. It's constantly changing. Women are evolving. Like if you could have seen the status of women like in society, the position of women in society a few decades ago also, you could see that they were mostly homemakers. They were mostly regaled to the role of homemaker. They were considered as like unpaid or even treated as unpaid servants. They were treated as weaker, as the weaker sex, who always needed like the protection of their male family members or the male members of the society for anything that they needed, like, you know, whether it is education, whether it is like moving around freely in the society, you needed to have a man present, like. And if, God forbid, if there is no male relative to protect a female, then she used to be the target of predatory advances. And so life of a woman was always very difficult. And yet women, they were constantly evolving. They were constantly trying to break through these barriers. They were constantly trying to thread through uncharted territories, trying to, like, you know, make themselves independent, create the independent identity, and they were trying to like make a mark, like, you know, of themselves, like, you know. So in order to like make this mark, it was not an easy task for them, and also it was not an easy task for the society to accept that the role that women are playing is now changing, that women are getting more, like, they're getting out of their like comfort zones, that they're getting out of their home and hearths, and they're trying to, like, you know, like, they're trying to explore their potential, explore their own own knowledge, their power, that what they can do, and if they can make a change, if they can bring about a difference. And when we speak about this evolution, when we speak about this change of role, we also speak about the imbalance that it creates in the predefined gender roles that were there in society. We also speak about the change in the power equation in the society, because if women are empowering themselves, that means they are no longer weak. That means they cannot be seen as weaker sex. They cannot be seen as like the weaker section of society. So that, if you could, like, you know, at one point you can say that was a threat. That was a threat to the whole structure of the society. That was a threat to the existing male dominance, or like existing structure where males were supposed to be the dominant ones and the females were supposed to be the submissive ones in society. And this change in structure, it brought some sort of a fear in the minds of the ones whose role was changing, and they tried to like restore this balance. They tried to again get back to the status quo, and in that they started resorting to violence. And there we found that violence against women increased, and when violence against women increased, crime against women also increased. So there was always a rise in crime against women, either it is personally or like in society. So to combat this violence against women, we had to actually have certain machinery by law, like, we'll combat this violence against women, this crime against women, and also to ensure that women, like, they move about freely in society and they enjoy their rights. So for that, there were special laws which were designed for women. There were special constitutional provisions that were designed for women. And that is what our topic for today is. It is women and law, where we are going to see. It's like, we're not going to be like, giving a lecture or trying to teach what is law and what is women and law. What I'm going to try to tell here are the provisions that law makes, especially for women, so that women can move about freely in society. They can realize their ambitions, they can empower themselves, and without any fear. So moving back onto this presentation, I take this talk forward. So this passage, which is there right in front of you, if you read this to this passage, somewhere or the other, every person, every girl will feel that, "Arey, yeah, this is something which has happened to me. This is something which has happened to me." Now, why I find this passage significant is, like, this was written by Joyce Stevens at an Australian women liberation movement in 1975. And today, it's like been 45 years since this passage has been written, and yet we can relate to it. So this just goes to show that although we have, like, moved about, like, empowered ourselves in society, we have evolved in society, but the mindsets are still, like, it's a long way for the mindsets to take, like, to evolve, to actually put women on an equal path with the males. Here again, this slide which I'm speaking about is about the famous quote. It is quotes about famous philosophers and leaders. And when you speak, if you read about it, you read about quotes being with those people who were considered as scholars, who were considered as progressive men, who were considered as historical leaders, and their opinion about a little not very progressive, not very like they're not being seen as women. Who were not even seen as human beings. They were mostly seen as chattel, or they were seen as property. So it's not that I'm trying to insult anyone or anything like that. When I speak about this slide, what I'm trying to show here is that when the progressive men are having such thoughts, one can actually imagine what was the status of women, or what was the position of women, or what was the role defined for women in society in that era or in that time. So moving further, we will go to violence against women. So when we speak about violence against women, we speak because, as I said earlier in the talk, that the equation, the equation in the society, the equation of gender roles in the society is changing, and that brings about, like, the effort to bring about the status quo most of the time leads to violence against women. And when we speak about violence, then violence usually is, like, it holds two parties. One, the victim perpetrator. So perpetrator usually tries to inflict violence, any form of pain or distress, is because so that they can like put in a fear at the mind of the victim, so that the victim refrains from doing what they were doing, and they actually obey the perpetrator. So that is basically, like, you know, in a nutshell, that is what violence is, and what violence proposes, like, you know, that to the effect that the violence proposes to have. And if we have to classify violence, we can classify violence into 4 types, which is basically, I mean, usually violence, when we speak about domestic violence, or we speak about crime, which is actually, yes, violence, but it is like, it's an embodiment of violence. You know, it's a type, like, okay, fine. So this is this crime, like it's an act which was, like, you know, which is a violent act. But violence, we cloudly into the terms of symbol. It's more like not exactly it's not exactly like, you know, a physical pain inflicted, more like it's a conditioning, where it's like where the society roles are defined, and they are like the structure is given in such a way that when we say that women are a weaker sex, or they are less intelligent, or they need protection from males, so that is a symbolic form of violence, because here we are automatically saying, we are conditioning women that they are weaker. So women themselves start believing that, yes, I am the like, you know, the weaker, I represent the weaker sex, so I need protection. I need protection from men. I need to confine myself, or I need to restrict myself, or I need to refrain myself. So basically, you're not actually hitting a woman, or you're not instilling fear in her heart, but you are, like, you know, in your symbolic way, you're showing her that, kind of showing her her place, that, see, you are weaker, you know, you're physiologically weaker, you are intellectually weaker, so you need our protection. So that is what symbolic violence is. Then structural and institutional violence, they're basically more quite similar, because they speak about a structure. So that's structure or an hierarchy, if it is present there in an institution, then that becomes institutionalized violence. Now, institution does not only mean institution which is like an educational institution, or maybe an organization or a corporate. It can also mean governments, because government, if you go to see, is also an institution where there is a governing party, and then there's those who are governed. So obviously there's a structure out here, there's an hierarchy out here, there's a power play out here. So here the decisions which are taken in the course of this structure power play can lead to violence, and that violence is known as structural violence and institutionalized violence. So you see, when we speak about gender disparities, when we speak about racial disparities, or when we speak about war, then they can be considered as examples of institutionalized violence or structural violence. Then another form of violence is cultural violence. So when we speak about cultural violence, it's mostly like the roles, or the teachings, or the rules and regulations which we find embedded in our customs, in our traditions, in our usages, in our religions, where, like, when we speak about in those texts, there are defined roles, like, okay, a child should have this role, they should obey their parents, they should look after their parents, they should not do things. So basically there are various, like, life teachings which are there, which are given in these kinds of like, you know, religious forums, or any of these cultural forums and ideologies, like, you know, and they are like, you go to see, like, these rules, everything has a rules or a code of conduct, and we are to follow this code of conduct. And if we do not follow this code of conduct, then we are considered as liable for punishment. Either it could be the divine punishment, or it could be punishment which is given by the, like, in the form of a curse, or in form of like whatever the religious texts, or whatever these customs, or the customs and usages which they at that time which they actually at that time they predict, like, okay, this is what you are supposed to do when you have not followed the usages or the regulations which are being defined, or which have been told in the rules and regulations which the culture what do you, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not getting the word, which this yeah, which the culture actually tells you that, okay, this is what you are supposed to do. So if you do not do it, you do attract violence in the form in the form of punishment. Moving ahead, we are speaking here about the factors which lead to violence. So when we spoke about violence, we spoke about the types of violence, we spoke about cultural, we spoke about institutional violence, we spoke about cultural violence, we spoke about symbolic violence. So these are basically predefined roles which are given to the men and women, or to the people of society in general. And if we fail to perform those roles, or to act according to those roles, then we attract some sort of a liability. So what are these roles that society has actually allotted for men and women? So if you go to see in this slide, if you go to see, since childhood, girls and boys are brought up with a different with a different mindset. When we speak about an upbringing of a son, it's usually said that you have to be strong, you have to be like, no, you should not show sensitivity, guys don't cry, or even the toys given to boys are more like, war toys, or like superhero toys, something where they are supposed to be in this role of a protector. They are supposed to be in a role of someone who protects, someone who goes and fights with enemies, someone who goes and goes to office. They are the providers that way. And women, when we speak about roles, an upbringing of a woman or a girl child, she's mostly asked like, no, you're not supposed to speak. So in front of elders, you're not supposed to back up in this particular way, you're supposed to dress in this particular way, and it's not appropriate for women or girls to be more assertive or be headstrong. So they are like conditioned to be more submissive, more compromising, more adjusting. So these gender roles, at a very early age, when children are conditioned in a particular way, they are you're actually defining their personality. You're defining their personality to be either strong or to be either weak. And when girls or when women, they want to break out from this predefined or preconditioned thinking, then it's like they attract the ire of the family, or they attract the ire of the society. So when they attract the ire of the family, it becomes like domestic violence, or we can also say it becomes something like honor killings and all. And when they attract the ire of the society, then it becomes crime against women. So when we speak about crime, then be broadly classified into crimes which are for which provision the Indian Penal Code, which is the code which defines the crime and prescribes punishment for the crime. And we can speak about crimes under special or local laws. So let's see what are the crimes under Indian Penal Code and what are crimes under local and special law. Here, when we see that these are the crimes which are there under IPC. So crimes like crime to the person, like, the crimes like assault, acid attacks, abduction, human trafficking, rape, then murder, domestic violence, sexual harassment. These are crimes for which provisions are made not in the Indian Penal Code, and also there are laws also made. In some of these there are special laws also which are made for combating these crimes. Going further, if you see what are the crimes under social laws, are crimes which like commission of sati. So basically sati, you could say it is like a traditional, a cultural, it used to be a tradition where performing sati, like, after the death of the husband, the widow performing sati was a tradition in certain parts of India. So commission of sati, dowry, immoral trafficking, these are crimes which are under special laws, for which special laws had to be made. We could not only rely on just provisions made for them in a whole comprehensive law. So now that we've spoken about crime against women and violence against women, let's now go to what are the safeguards, or what are the laws, like what are the provisions law which are available to women, which the women can take, like, protection from, they can seek protection from, or they can seek redressal from. So the safeguards here are of three types. They are like safeguards which are guaranteed by the Constitution, safeguards which are guaranteed by legislature, and safeguards which are guaranteed by the Supreme Court. So when we speak about constitutional safeguards, we actually are speaking about rights. We are actually speaking about special provisions which are made in terms of employment, in terms of representation. So that is what Constitution guarantees. When we speak about legislature, what we are speaking about is where the Parliament made special laws for women. So special laws were designed for women, taking into consideration the needs of women and the challenges that women face. So these were the laws which were enacted in the Parliament. Now these were mostly laws here, like when we speak about law, and when we speak about laws can be state laws and central laws. So when we speak about state laws are they are like only for the state. But when we speak about central laws, then the jurisdiction of that law is the whole of the country. So they are applicable to the whole country. And landmark judgments are basically those cases which were so powerful, which created such a great impact that the Parliament had to sit up, the legislative bodies had to sit up and take notice and either bring about reforms or bring about amendments, or they had to actually make special laws for women, because these cases were too brutal or too gruesome, and they were too actually, we could not ignore that that issue any longer. It would not be swept under the carpet any longer. So moving further to the constitutional safeguards. Constitutional safeguards, like as I said, they are in the form of fundamental rights, fundamental duties, directive principles, and reservation for women in municipalities, in panchayats, gram panchayat. So when we speak about reservation for women in panchayat, it's basically it's a representational safeguard. So in fact, the rights which are like, for women, the provisions which are made for women are article which says that you get equal protection of law and you are equal before law. Article 15, it makes two provisions for women. One is, Article 15 is basically a right against discrimination. So when we speak about right against discrimination, it's like self-explanatory. It says that one should not be discriminated in any form, whether it is because of their religion, whether it is because of the caste, whether it is because of the place of birth, or even because of the sex, or what we could say gender. So that is what this is, like, Article 15 says. Then, but when we speak about against discrimination, Article 15 also speaks about making favorable provisions for women and children. So when we speak about favorable provisions for women and children, of course, there's a question which is raised. That discrimination, aren't we discriminating by making special provisions for women, and then we are making special provisions for children? So here, when we speak about discrimination, or when we speak about special provisions, what we are speaking here, the discrimination we are speaking here is rather than equality, what we are trying to, the object that we are trying to achieve out here is equity. So we are trying to achieve social equity out here, that women till now were not given that kind of opportunity, the kind of representation that they deserve. And so they need to have certain special provision to be made, so that they come equally, they come on an equal standing with the rest of the population, and then from there we can take it further. So it is more like an equity. So when we speak about special provisions, we are not in any way violating any kind of equality principle, but we are actually trying to achieve a social equity. We are trying to achieve a balance where there is equality of opportunity. Article 16 again is also along the same lines about discrimination, but he adds special provisions. But here we speak mostly of special provisions in related to employment, in related to appointment, promotions. Yes, was there a question or something? Okay, moving further, when we speak about Article 23, Article 23 basically is against exploitation. So it's like women have always been objectified. Women have always been seen as object, even like in not only in the past, even today women are seen as objects. So this needs to change, and this is like especially objects for one's sensual pleasure. So this is something which is actually a very dangerous situation. This is a threat which women face, and which can result in a lot of violence, or which can result in a lot of crime against women. So to safeguard and for the safety of women, this Article 23 was made. The provision for Article 23 was made in the Constitution, which speaks about right against exploitation, which speaks about exploitation in the form of human trafficking, exploitation in the form of forcing to beg, forcing to in any way, like what you say, they are like this trafficking is mostly for slavery, for forced marriages. So these kinds of things should not be like, should these practices should stop. Like there should be a deterrence for it. So that is the now the beauty of fundamental rights is this, that if the fundamental rights are violated, they are individual rights, and if they are violated, then protection of law under this under Article 32 of the Constitution. So protection of law means you can directly approach the Supreme Court in the form of a writ petition mentioning that your right has been violated, and you need to ensure that the violation is taken off and that you can enjoy your rights. Going further, when we speak about directive principles and fundamental duties, so directive principles basically are suggestions to the state, so that the state will becomes a welfare state, so that the state becomes a progressive state. So there we have a lot of provisions, of which Article 39 speaks about provisions for livelihood, not only for men but also women. And also if there is a livelihood, if women are earning, then if the nature of the work is same, then they should be paid, given the same pay. So equal pay for equal work. And Article 42, it's like specifically for women, where it says that, of course, the conditions of work should be humane, but you should also, if it's a lady who's working, then you should also make provisions for her maternity relief, for maternity benefits. But these directive principles and fundamental duties, they are not enforceable by law. So if they are violated, you cannot seek redressal in the court of law. You cannot seek protection. They are just suggestive things, where it is suggested by the Constitution that this is what you should do. So just so that your state is going to be progressive, or as when you speak about fundamental duties, if you perform this duty, then you become a better citizen of the country. So here, when we speak about duties, here the duties clearly speaks about promoting harmony and renouncing practices which are derogatory to women. So that's like, if you do this, of course there is no like a legal obligation to do it, but there is a moral obligation to do this. And if you do this, then you become a better citizen, and your nation becomes a much more progressive nation. Now, constitutional safeguards which speak about reservation for women in panchayat, in municipality. There's also a proposed amendment where the proposal is such that there should be reservation for women in Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. So this safeguard, or this reservation for women, is so that women are adequately represented, and the problems of women or the challenges that women face can be adequately represented at various platforms, where these are like powerful platforms. When we speak about panchayat, when we speak about municipalities, when we speak about Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, they are basically quite very strong platforms where policies are made. In panchayats, there are policies made for the betterment of the villages or the rural areas. Municipality speaks about town planning. So if we do have certain provisions or certain points in the policies which are made for women, then that could actually be a relief for the women. It could actually speak for a state or for a village where women do enjoy their rights and freedom without any threat or without any kind of fear in their hearts. So that is possible if we do have adequate representation of women, where women have a voice. And this voice can be provided who are elected, this is a compulsory reservation. So they are elected here, and they can then become the voice of a woman. They can be the representatives of the women, and they can bring about a change in the status of women. So Constitution, it's basically the main law, or it's also called as a living law. It has made provisions. But just because Constitution has made provisions, we've seen that those provisions are suggestive provisions, or those provisions are provisions which does not attract a criminal liability. So what if they are crying against women, or what they are severe their violence against women? Then we really need special laws. We need special provisions which will deal with this issue of violence against women or crime against women. So for that, legislature steps in, and legislature steps in the form of making provisions in the Indian Penal Code and making special laws for women. So when we speak about Indian Penal Code, we'll just try to see, quickly go through what are the provisions for women in Indian Penal Code, and then we could go for what are the special legislature. So about Section 294 of Penal Code, and it also defines obscenity, and this acts, they can be public acts or they can also be private acts, and these are, they will not go unpunished. You will be punished if you resort to those acts. Section 303, 302 and 304 speak about crime against a person, which includes homicide for dowry deaths, even attempts. Now, when we speak about in a penal code, when we speak about crime is punishable only when a crime happens. Attempt for crime is not punishable. And also, in a crime is considered as a crime when we have a guilty intention, when we have a guilty mind over it. So crime has two aspects, a guilty mind and a guilty act, or an act which makes it an offense. If both of them combiningly make it a crime, and punishment is usually like the order is passed or a punishment is given, taking into consideration both the mens rea or the guilty intention and the act which makes it an offense. But there are certain acts which even the attempt of which will attract a liability, will attract a criminal liability, and will be punishable by law. So section when we speak about dowry deaths, when we speak about dowry, taking dowry, even the attempt, because these acts are like really gruesome acts, they are heinous acts, so they have to be stopped. There has to be a deterrent for it. And if a person can go scot-free by saying, oh, I have just attempted it, I did not know about it, I did not intend for it to happen, then it will be like, there will be no justice. So that's the reason even the attempts are punishable by law. Section 313-14 speak about miscarriage, and if there is a death of a woman because of this miscarriage, then there is a punishment. IPC, the Indian Penal Code, it firstly defines what the whole section is, and then it gives the punishment. Now, I cannot go too much into the depth of all these subjects, because if I do that, then we'll days. So I'll just quickly go through the whole thing. Second is 6, it's about acid attacks, and also it's about an attempt of throwing acid. Section 354 speaks about any criminal force or an assault which is put on a female or a woman with the object of outraging her modesty. Now, when we speak about outraging the modesty of a woman, it's a very broad term. It is not really very well defined. And so because of that, when a woman used to go at the earlier times, when a woman used to go to the police station, and when you used to say that, okay, like I want to file a complaint for outrage modesty, it used to be at the discretion of the police officer, who would decide whether it is outragement or not. But now we have been given a specific definition for outraging the modesty of a woman, so that it is no longer at the discretion of the police officer taking a complaint who will decide whether that act is an outrage to the woman's modesty or not. Section 300 to Section 373, they speak about various acts, including kidnapping and abduction for various purposes. Like the kidnapping and abduction could be, like when we speak about Section 366A and B, we see that it is specifically says about procurement of a minor girl or importation of a girl from a foreign country. This is like maybe for prostitution, for slavery, anything. So also kidnapping or abduction could be for reasons. It could be for begging, it could be for forceful marriage, it could be for maiming, it could be for a lot of things. So the act speaks about like it defines abduction, it defines kidnapping, because abduction and kidnapping are actually two different terms and they hold two different meanings. So we are specifically speaking about kidnapping, specifically speaking about abduction. It is defined in the act, and punishment is proposed, punishment is also given in the act. This attracts this kind of punishment. Section 375 and 376 speak about rape, including gang rape. They give a very vast, a very broad definition of rape, where a lot of things are included, and also very strict, very stringent punishments for rape. Then we have Section 494. Section 494A is actually considered as a offense against like in marriage. So it's for mostly for married women, where like when they face violence, like domestic violence or torture or cruelty of any form, like whether it's physical, mental, sexual, by their in-laws. Whether now those in-laws could be not only the male members but also the female members. So by their in-laws or the husband or any relative of the husband, if a woman faces any kind of domestic violence, then she can take resort of the protection of Section 498A. Section 314 again speaks about any word or gesture or act intended to insult the modesty of women. So here, when we speak about this, we speak about acts like stalking, we speak about acts like eve teasing, we speak about acts like voyeurism. So they are punishable under this section. So IPC actually is a very it's an exclusive inclusive law. Like there are lots of provisions made in IPC against, like crime against state, crime against person, crime against property, in which there are specific provisions which are made, which are applicable to women, which are applicable for any crimes or any violence which occur against women. But apart from that, the legislature has actually enacted special laws for women, which will be like where it's like where the laws are such that if a woman feels in any way, she feels she's oppressed in any way, according to these laws, then she can take take protection under this law. She can seek redressal in the in the form of these laws. She can. So it's basically like these laws are there to solve the problems of the woman. So should a woman find herself in any sort of a problem, or she's got any dilemma, or she's got any kind of a question on her mind saying that, okay, this is happening, what am I supposed to do? Is there any solution to it? So these laws try to find a solution for a woman. They try to protect the women. Also, they try to give punishment to the victim. And also, some of the laws try to rehabilitate women. They try to restore the dignity of women in society. So those various laws are Immoral Traffic Prevention Act, which is pretty self-explanatory. It speaks about immoral trafficking. It speaks about human trafficking for whatever forms, especially immoral trafficking or prostitution. Maternity Benefit Act. Maternity Benefit Act was originally enacted in 1961. It was for women who were pregnant and who could get leave. Like under this act, they were entitled for
I think there's some network issue from her end.
Ma'am here, or she's out of the meeting?
I think there's some Wi-Fi error from her end and she's not there in the meeting. Just keep patient. She'll be back in a minute or two.
I messaged with Smita, but she doesn't seem to have received my message. Okay, now she's received. Just a minute.
She's just trying to rejoin. She'll be here any moment.
Smita, network issue.
out. So I'll continue presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Can I screen sharing?
Just a second. Can you make the co-host Karina? Yes, you can.
Thank you so much. Yes, so when I was speaking, sorry, I was connected and then I had some issues connecting. So we'll get back to maternity benefit. What I was trying to tell here is provisions for maternity benefit were made in 1961, but they were inadequate. And so the act was amended in 2017. And when the act was amended, they increased the period of leave for that a pregnant woman can, but also they also included commissioning mothers, adoptive mothers, surrogate mothers in this act. So when we speak about commissioning, adoptive mothers and surrogacy, I mean surrogate mothers is kind of a self-explanatory term, but commissioning mothers are those employees, those women who take a help of another woman to have a baby. Now here the another lady like who take help of surrogacy, you could say, or IVF to have a baby. Now here when we're speaking about surrogacy, here the genetic material which could can be provided. I mean, it may or it may not be provided by the woman or her partner, but although the women themselves are not pregnant, but they need to have that bond with the baby. They need to have that kind of a the preparation to become mothers. So also they are also entitlement for the maternity benefits. They are also entitled for the leave to take care of their child. Other benefits are work from home and these leaves are basically, or the regulations were not in place, but now because law and the rules and regulations are in place, these ladies can enjoy the maternity benefits. They can enjoy pay. Moving further, so we have dowry and which prescribement for taking dowry either directly or indirectly. Any form to take dowry, you are liable for punishment. Equally Remuneration Act. So when we look at equal remuneration, it speaks about equal. They made a law out of it so that it becomes a law, and if you are not abiding by the law, then you are liable for
Ms. Smita, sorry to interrupt. Can you switch off your video?
moving
Maybe
on
then
to
in
the
that
next
case,
act.
maybe in that case you will be able to, some bandwidth could be managed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Switch off your video, maybe.
Excuse me, I did not read what you.
I was saying that if you could switch off your video, maybe the lag would reduce or something. Let's try that way in case some network issues are there.
Okay, I'll Okay, we'll take move. Moving on ahead with with the special laws of women, we're speaking about criminal law. Exactly, it's then the amendment is made in under this act. It is made under the act. And then those subsequently, then those laws get amended. So the laws here, which are included in criminal law, are the Indian Penal Code, the CRPC, that is the Code of Criminal Procedure, which prescribes the trial process, the complaint, or the powers of the judges. So basically, whatever is the criminal procedure or the procedure for a criminal trial is given in this Code of Criminal Procedure. Then protection sexual harassment, sexual offenses, sorry. And then Evidence Act. Evidence Act basically is act which tells you what is evidence, what is not, how evidence can be used. And 96, which spoke about obscenity. So this is an act. This is a complete act, and which is made, which speaks about obscenity, and what are the punishments which are like or the penalties in case of
Is it possible if someone else can do the screen sharing? So that would be easier.
Miss Smita, are you there? This is something really inevitable. I'm so sorry about this. She'll be back anytime soon.
Is it possible that if any of you can share the screen and she, explains the slides, so that that bandwidth would be saved or somewhere? I mean, I'm just thinking about if it's possible.
No, I don't think any of us have the presentation with us.
She's joining in a minute from her phone now. Just a second.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so so we were on this slide of Commission of Sati Prevention Act. So if you could just do that.
Just a minute, ma'am. Khushi, can you have it done?
Okay, so we're speaking about Commission of Sati Prevention Act. So when we speak about this act, this it's a self-explanatory act. It is like any like anyone who makes another woman commit commit sati, they force them to commit sati, or who glorifies the act of sati, or who either creates a financial trust, or who's like creates temples, anywhere where glorifying the act of sati, they are punishable. Next, the next act is National Commission for Women's Act. So this National Commission of Women's Act basically is it is not a criminal act, it is not for any kind of a criminal act. It is more like for the administration, under this act, the commission, the various women commissions are constituted at national level and state level, so that women, they get representation, in the they can be represented adequately. They can also propose changes in the amendments in the constitution. They can propose policies. They can give their recommendation in policy formation. They can in various redressal mechanisms or legislatures, or other topics, where they feel that women need the questions for women, or the questions of women, or the issues, or the problems of women need to be addressed, or they need to be stressed upon. Then these commissions, they can give advices, or they can propose amendments. So that is something which is possible under this act of National Commission of Women Act. Also, when we speak about the commissions which are constituted under this act, these commissions, they have the jurisdiction and the powers of a civil court. So it's like just as in civil courts, they have although civil courts cannot prescribe they cannot give a punishment, they cannot give an order prescribing a punishment, but they can prescribe compensation. They can hold trials. They can ask for witnesses to come and give the witness in that issue, in that trial. So all these powers are available to women in the women commissions for women under this act, National Commission of Women Act of 1990. moving ahead, we have acts which are like these are all these can also be seen as a medical act, but they are also specifically for women because they speak about prenatal diagnostic techniques, their regulation and prevention of misuse. So this act, the need for this act was because there were a lot of diagnostic centers who used to there were a lot of diagnostic centers who used to actually conduct tests of sex determination, and this test of sex determination would lead to a lot of female infanticide. They could lead a lot of female feticides. So to prevent this female infanticide, to prevent female feticide, these rules and regulations were made under this act, which put a ban on sex determination test. So this act was specifically made to regulate to put a ban on the test, to put a ban on sex determination test, and not only that, but also to constitute a board which will regulate the diagnostic centers. They can also punish the center those diagnostic centers for not following the norms of this act. They can even take away the license. They can bar these diagnostic centers. They can take their license, and they will be prohibited from further practicing as a diagnostic center. Then as in IPC, we have seen section 498A. So the same section, taking that section further, this law of protection of women from domestic violence act was made. This act basically speaks about all forms of domestic violence, torture, any kind of cruelty, and it is like this torture, this cruelty, this violence can be physical, this can be emotional, this can be sexual. So when we speak about marital rape, then a woman can take protection in not only in IPC but also specifically this Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. Moving further, we have two more acts actually, then that's like the end of the legislature at least. It's Prohibition of Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act. So this act is actually a very important act in today's times, because today women are stepping out of their homes. They are actually working. They're taking career paths, and they are actually focusing on their career. And if the workplace is hostile, or if the workplace is discriminatory, then it adds to the stress of it adds to the stress to the woman, and also it affects her. It affects her work. It affects her. She cannot realize her potential. So in an effort to have a safe working place for women, to ensure that that women are safe at their workplace, this act was enacted in 2013, which provides not only for the prohibition of sexual harassment at workplace, but also for employers or the organizations to take measures to prevent sexual harassment at workplace. And should there be sexual harassment, then a complaint mechanism and a redressal forum is also constituted, where women can go and complain about it, and then either if they want a conciliation, or if they want an inquiry towards that complaint of the sexual harassment, then that can be arrived at by the internal committee of sexual harassment, which is constituted under this act, under this law. And here there can be various disciplinary actions which can be taken against the perpetrator. Again, here this complaint mechanism and this body which is constituted to take the complaint mechanism and to conduct inquiries has the powers of a civil court. Then surrogacy bill. So surrogacy bill, actually it is it's not a law as such. It's not yet become a law, but it's still in a process of becoming a law. It has been presented in the parliament, but it has not yet gotten the sanction to become a law. But this bill basically it proposes to regulate surrogacy, because what happened is when there were more and more women, when they were opting for surrogacy, there was a lot. It became a racket. It became a commercial racket where women were exploited, where it became a business of selling babies, of like you know uh, mm, giving especially women from lower economic strata were they were kind of pushed into this surrogacy racket. They were exploited under this surrogacy racket, and so it became like a very commercial thing. So this bill, it proposes to put a ban on this um, commercial surrogacy, while it allows and also limits the altruistic surrogacy. Like basically when we speak about altruistic surrogacy, that means it is something where you will not be getting money out of it, you will not be making a business out of it. If you feel that if you are genuinely wanting to help someone, and you want to in some way donate your womb to someone, so that someone else can enjoy the perks and privileges of becoming a mother, then you can do so, but altruistically. There is no business in this. So we hope that this becomes a law, because it's also the need of the hour, because the alternate process for pregnancy are on a rise. So obviously, to combat the evils of commercial making a business of this alternate process, if there is a regulatory bill, then it will really be beneficial. So those were the laws which are specifically made for women. And then, we're moving ahead to the landmark judgment, which of the Supreme Court, which was so powerful. They created such an impact that we had to either bring reforms in law, or we had to enact a special law. So there are just three of these. Till date, there are three of those such landmark judgment. One is Dina Lal and others against the state of Rajasthan, which is also famously, popularly known as Roop Kuvar case. So this was a judgment which prompted the enactment of the Prevention of Sati Commission of Sati Prevention Act of 1987. Here, a 17 or 18-year-old girl, widow, Roop Kuvar, was made to undergo Sati, and then she was glorified. She was called as Sati Mata. But then this act was so brutal that and also the girl was like so young, and the soul this garnered such sympathy and such outcry in the whole state, that the Supreme Court had to take notice. The Parliament had to take notice, and they had to initially at the state level and then at a central level, this law, Commission of Sati Prevention Act, was passed. Vishakha and others against the state of Rajasthan. This is popularly known as the Bhavri Devi case. Here again, this lady Bhanwari Devi. She again, this happened in Rajasthan. This lady was an uneducated lady, an illiterate lady, but she was working for an NGO. She was working as a sathin, where she would promote. She would speak for women literacy. She would speak against child marriages, and in her course of duty, she prevented one girl child from getting married, and this angered the the male members of the society, especially the members of the upper caste, because this lady would belong to a lower caste, and they raped her, they gang raped her. And but this lady was a very strong lady, so rather than taking this lying down, she actually went to the NGO and she complained, and this NGO took up that complaint, and they filed a petition in the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, of course, took cognizance of this complaint, and they formed what was famously known as Vishaka rules. So these Vishaka rules were basically rules against sexual harassment at workplace, and these rules were formed in 1997. And in 2013, these rules were then converted into the Sexual Harassment Act. It took a long time for the rules to be converted into the act, but at least we had the rule in from 97 to 2013, and then this was converted into act of where it was not only like the duty of the organization or the employer to make to ensure that sexual harassment is prevented, but we also now have a complaint mechanism and a redressal forum where we can seek an inquiry, we can seek disciplinary action, we can seek compensation. Another case which really was which really created a very great impact was state through reference against Ram Singh and others. This case is known as the Nirbhaya case, and although it's been 9 years since this case, but I'm sure quite a lot of people must be knowing about this case. It was about this brutal gang rape which happened on a 23-year-old, after which she was in a moving bus, and then she was thrown out of the bus. And the brutality of this act was such that it demanded death penalties for the perpetrators. And yes, they did get the death penalty. Although there was this one person who was tried as a juvenile because he was not 18. But that again served as in bringing upon a reform, the reform which this act in itself was brought about lots of reforms in the criminal law. It made the rape definition of rape very broader. It made the laws more stringent. It fast track courts were constituted, they were established so that speedy trials, so to ensure speedy trials, so that justice is you can seek justice on time, so that we do not have this adage of justice delayed is justice denied. So justice should not be denied because of the delay. So we had fast track courts established which would go for speedy trials within a time limit, and the perpetrators would be punished appropriately. Securities were tightened, patrolling was tightened, increased. Also, the police officers were given training in gender sensitization, so that if a woman goes to the police station and she speaks about any complaint or any grievance which is on her person, the male officers do not insult her or do not mock her, and they too take the complaint seriously. They try to understand the pain and the trauma that the woman is going through when she is complaining or when she's addressing these issues. Also, offenses like stalking, acid attack, and voyeurism were added in the Indian Penal Code. And one very important thing which was added was it was the change in the Juvenile Justice Act, where the definition of adult in case of crimes such as heinous as rape were was changed, and rather than 18 being the definition of an adult child, it was brought down to 16. So now now it's if a perpetrator cannot just they cannot go scot-free saying, or they cannot go with lenient punishment saying that, oh, we were underage. or we did not know. No, you now, if you are 16 and if you can create that kind, like, if you can commit that kind of an offense, then of course you are liable to that kind of strict punishment. So yes, these were those laws which actually brought about a change, which actually prompted new laws to be made for women, so that women can, can, so that they can be, women can feel safe in the society, so that women can feel that yes, this society is safe for us. We can venture out, we can achieve our dreams, we can work towards our goals, we can achieve our ambitions. The only problem here is, which I feel, is that women are not aware about this laws that they are made, that have been made for them, and so they cannot seek protection under this law. And if women are made aware, if there is an awareness created about this law for women as well as men, because it's like, if women become aware of this law and if men are not aware about this law, then it can be like, where then men become victim to under the malicious complaints or the wrongful acts of women, because then women will be like, okay, fine, male don't know, and we can always seek protection of this law, and we can, even a small thing, and we can punish them. So it's like both males and females, like it's like universally there should be an awareness about this law for men, so that it acts as a deterrent for women, and for women so that women can empower themselves. So personally, I feel that yes, these laws are really, really important in changing the mindset, in sensitizing against the for the issues, against like the issues that women face, or the challenges that women face. And yes, the need as to why women should have laws specifically designed, specially designed for them according to their needs. Yeah, with this, I would like to thank you, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and also thank you so much for patiently listening to me, because I realized it did extend our the time which was given. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being there. We may have a few questions. If you have, please post it in the chat box right now.
I will do that.
Ma'am, with your permission, we can have a question and answer session, right?
Sure. Anything, I mean, I would love to answer if there are any questions there.
If there are any questions, you're requested to please put it in the chat box.
When you speak about this is Yukti. Hi, Yukti. When you speak about registering complaints virtually, what kind of complaints do you mean? Because when we speak about these special laws, when we are speaking about this acts or this crime, then they are like the forum here is like, it's like it comes under when we speak about crime, it falls under the jurisdictions of maybe the police of the police station. So if you are in that particular area, then you will have to go to the police station. And when we speak about virtual, we still do not have that mechanism where where we can actually speak where we can actually speak about virtual complaints, because here when we speak about virtual complaints, the jurisdiction is not defined. So because the jurisdiction is not defined, the complaints cannot be registered. Okay, what support? Women support groups too. So women support group, Ananya. Hi, Ananya. So women support group basically they try to sensitize women, or they try to take up women's issue, and they try to help them. Like for example, as women, there are a lot of women who do not know about the laws. Even educated women, they do not know much about law or the technicalities of law. So a women support group will help that woman, help the victim. They will accompany the victim to the police station, or if they have to seek the help of a lawyer, or to also if the presence of that the lady from the support group can help in encourage the women. It can give her that kind of moral support to talk about her complaint. She can if they want to take the seek the services of a lawyer, then they can advise as to who's the lawyer, or they can accompany them to the lawyer. And besides that, that is the legal recourse. But also women support group, they try to psychologically try to uplift you, to encourage you to seek redressal for your complaints, to seek protection under the law for the issues or the challenges that you are facing. Okay, Pooja, when we speak about no evidence of harassment with women, and how do you the women prove the charges? So the thing here is, women really, yes, evidence is necessary, but do not have to prove your charge. You have to, when you speak, because sometimes when you speak to the ICC, when you speak to the internal complaints committee, the internal committee, they send a notice to the to against whom the complaint is made. So for example, if you have a complaint against your boss, so the committee will send a notice to the boss. It will speak about, it will lay out the charges, and it will say that yes, these are the charges against you. Are you accepting those charges? And if you are accepting the, so, and if they and they will actually call them, and they will take they will interview them, and they will see from the various body language, their gestures, their whether they're accepting these charges or not. If they do not accept these charges, then an inquiry will be set up, and they'll see whether further investigation will be done, where they can the scope is broadened, that are there any similar complaints against this person, have there been any similar things against this person, or what is the character of the person, or what is the reputation of the person. If you can, if that can be in any way where they find that they are if they have any conclusive evidence against it, then they will move forward with the inquiry. But if they do not have, then yes, unfortunately we will have to shelf the inquiry there, and we cannot take further action against that person. Karina, your question is sometimes women don't have the financial means to seek legal justice. Does the government provide any sanction here? So yes, what the government does here, or what the courts do specifically, is they can appoint a lawyer. They can appoint a lawyer. A court appointed lawyer is there, who can who can take up the case, where and who can fight for this lady, who can take up the case for the lady, and who can represent that lady into in the court. So yes, that provision is there. So what is the most stressful part about working at women's empowerment? Hi, Ruchi. I don't know how I can speak about what is the stressful part about working in women's empowerment, because when women seek empowerment, they are actually getting out of their comfort zones. They are getting out of their stereotypical roles. So it is every woman who goes through that process. Every woman who dares to do that goes through that process, and it depends mostly upon her psychological makeup, as to how she takes in, how sensitive she is, or how brazen she is, or how she can like channelize her energies into like facing those situations. So if and that is something which every woman can answer for herself. Or if you form a group, you can find out like what are those, what are your peers or your colleagues or your superiors experiences, and there you can actually come into the conclusion, some sort of a conclusion that what could be a stressful part. For me, I think the stressful part of women's empowerment is actually getting out, daring to get out of the stereotypical roles, actually trying to empower themselves, because that is the first step, and first step is always the most difficult step. Okay, women face mental harassment at times, even when the police, with the police. So yeah, hi Akshita. What you speak about is women face mental harassment at times, even with police. So when they go to make the FIR or lodge a complaint. Exactly. So when I was speaking about this case of Nirbhaya, I did speak about gender sensitization, where police officers are given training on gender sensitization, so that they can be more sensitive towards the more sensitive towards the questions or the issues of women, or towards the complaints of the women. But even if they are not, what can be done is you can then lodge a complaint against this police officer in the commissions, the commissions for women, this when I spoke about the National Commission of Women's Act and the constitution of National Commissions of Women at state level and national level. So these national commissions of women, they fall under the Department of Women and Child Ministry. So there you can lodge a complaint against this. You can say that my complaint is not being taken seriously, and then these commissions, this women commission can the members of this commission, that they can either accompany you to that police station, so that you are taken seriously and your complaint is taken seriously, and it is lodged in a proper manner, or they can assign a NGO who will accompany you for the same. And you can that is something which is done here, ideally done here in cases. You can seek the help of the commission, the women, the commission for women, and they can either personally they can come, or someone from the same, or they can assign it to some this thing, they can assign it to some NGO. Yes, there are restrictions to women wanting to abort, but because the thing is, yes, now it is a little, it is a little women, it's like they can do what they want with their body. So abortion is legalized, but not at the expense of the woman's health. So yes, it's like up till a certain advancement in pregnancy, abortion is legal. But beyond that, if that abortion can cause or that act of abortion can cause harm to the it can endanger the woman, or it can cause serious maybe blood loss or serious stress, her BP can rise, so health issues in the woman, then it is then it is restricted, then the abortion cannot be carried out. But yes, now women do have the option, they do have a choice if they do not want a child, or if they feel that that the baby that they're carrying in there, it is it has got certain genetic issues, or they have certain chromosomal issues, then they can abort. Or even if you do not want, if you feel that no, you do not want a child now, to the first trimester you can abort, until and unless your own health is not at risk. You can do that. It is legal. In corporates, it is seen generally when women is back from maternity leave, she does not get her authority or her profile back, or if due for promotion is not given. Is that so? This is actually this whole thing. You can speak. Okay, it's. I think this is a professor who's asking me. Good evening, ma'am. When we speak about like a woman going back from maternity leave, so she is entitled. She's entitled to get her profile back. She's entitled to for promotion, and for that, the law which we have is Maternity Benefit Act. That is the act which deals with all the questions relating to women. It not only speaks about paid leave, but it also speaks that she should not be in any way targeted, or she should not be in any way be at a disadvantage as to because of her pregnancy, or because of her choice of being a mother. She should not be at in any way disadvantaged. And so if you want to seek redressal, then it is in the Maternity Benefit Act. Maternity Benefit Act speaks about this. It speaks about a woman's not women's benefits, but also about this right of her to going back into her same profile. And also, if she's due for promotion, then yes, she should be given her promotion. She should be. It's all there in the Maternity Benefit Act. It is there. It's an act specifically designed for this. All these questions. Okay, are there? I think that's all with these questions. And so thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for paying attention. It was really nice sharing my whatever information I had about this on this subject matter. It was actually it was a privilege for me to share it with you guys, and I'm really so glad that you paid attention and you were so patient with me, because I have exceeded the time, but you were like a fantastic audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being there. That was truly an enlightening session. Now I would like to take this opportunity to extend our gratitude to you on behalf of HR College, HSNC Board, and the team of HR Speaks. And I'm sure that I'm speaking on behalf of everyone present here, that this session has made us feel that things are changing and evolving by every passing day. Laws are being laid out, be it crimes listed under IPC, local and special law, fundamental rights, or fundamental duties for that matter. All we can do as women who have these kind of opportunities to attend session like this is to aware other women who don't have access to something like this. I'm sure everyone has really benefited from this webinar and will now leave from here a little more empowered. Thank you to everyone who participated in the chat box and made this session lively.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Miss Smita. Thanks for the wonderful session. And I would also like to thank you, our principal, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, for being here and so supportive and encouraging us throughout. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you to the audience. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you,
everyone, for attending this webinar. Thank you, Dr. Pooja Ramchandani, for being there, taking some time out, joining us for this Women's Week Speaks. Thank you so much, Miss Smita Thool, for being there with us and giving us your precious time. With this, we'll be coming to an end of our webinar. Please do fill the feedback form, which is given in the chat box right now, and join us on our Instagram page for more fun activities. Thank you, everyone. Have a